Hi there, everybody. This morning I want to have a discussion about the way forward. The way forward in terms of how we need to rethink our commercial development going forward. And I'm not referring just to the UK or Europe or the USA. I'm looking at this from a position throughout the world. The Middle East, for example, and let me give that as an example. The Middle East, and I'm talking about the GCC countries, Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, these countries in particular, who have been developing methods of bringing new variety into their economy and looking at new forms of improving their GDP through a combination of industries and new ideas and sciences. Some have done it very well. Some have overcapitalized on it totally, and some have done nothing at all. And they've done all this because of the fact that they know that fossil fuel, oil basically, is going to, at some point in time, come to an end. The UAE, with its focus on a variety of industries over the last 20 years, I would say, have really put emphasis on things like tourism, as we know, in Dubai in particular, in travel to other parts of the world. They have gone out of their way to make Dubai airport a hub for the world when it comes to moving people and freight. They've invested way beyond anybody else in the world to ensure they have the best platforms for moving freight efficiently throughout the world. They've done it and it's cost them money. Emirates Airlines, who have invested an absolute fortune in the combination of passenger and air freight, have looked at it in a way as this is what the world needs. This is what the world is going to need going forward as well. So they have linked up with governments throughout the world and large industries throughout the world to form relationships, partnerships to develop and grow. And all of that travel goes through their hub, or hubs now in this particular case, in Dubai. Hotels have looked at the Dubai market, and Dubai have made, and not just Dubai now, UAE have done exactly the same, Qatar are doing the same as well. They've made it attractive for the hotel franchise operations to look at these countries very seriously, and they have gone to extreme lengths in building hotels and offering seasonal packages throughout the Gulf region. Now, for many years, people have said, some experts have said, they've invested far too heavily in this area. And now time will tell, because obviously with the hotel industry and the hospitality industry under particular threat with this new virus, it is going to be interesting to see how they re-emerge. What are they going to do to attract people into hotels and restaurants and provide that sort of value in entertainment and structure and hospitality by keeping people isolated at the same time. Now, it can be done. It can be done in the whole package, but it will mean fewer people going there, and it will mean fewer people paying a higher price for going there and having that particular experience. That can happen. And potentially the Middle East is the right location for it to happen. It's going to be a lot more difficult to restrain people going into your local pub in your town or village and restricting it to half or 60% or 70% of the people it would normally attract. So they may not be able to open that location at all, because that's what it will boil down to with the social distancing requirements and laws. What I'm trying to get at with this whole thing is the mind has got to look at this significantly differently. When it comes to other things, as a country, as part of the EU, and also sitting as a country on our own, we have always been looking at opportunities to, yes, manufacture where we can in the UK, but also look at bringing products in from other parts of the world. China, for example, who has for years been the platform and the foundation of making cheap products because they can build it in mass and ship it in mass. And it's not just about cheap labor, that's really not the whole part of that structure over there. It's also about the extreme volume that they can manufacture and bring across in spade loads. Their government has always looked at them as a factory for the rest of the world. So their investment as a country has been focused on driving manufacturing so they can get those costs way down, increase volumes over a short period of time, and get it into other parts of the world. Now that's going to be another interesting one that's going to have to be looked at very seriously. Obviously the Chinese will want to continue with that method of production and commerce, but the rest of the world will have to look at it and say, is that something we want to do going forward in our lives? America were already in that trade war with China and had already stopped a lot of Chinese product coming into their market. The problem with everything going on around us was the world was just up to here in debt everywhere. Yes, rich countries could afford to carry the debt far easier than poor countries, but the whole world basically is in debt, and therefore it was just a question of adjusting the debt accordingly in each particular country's needs to suit their particular problems that they were dealing with at the time within their economies. But now we're all in the same boat, and the question I would say for our country, going back to the UK, is do we want to become more self-sufficient in how we build and grow our economy? In other words, do we want to bring more of our manufacturing back into the UK, or do we want to be farming more of it out? That to me is a key question that needs to be asked by all, in government, in our society generally, and because it's a critical one. It is a critical one. It's something which, because we're starting with a level playing field in many respects, and I think that's how we should be looking at this. I was listening to a radio discussion last night where they were talking about the production of vaccines, and this woman was becoming hysterical, blaming the government, which always tends to be the way, because we don't have a production unit for manufacturing vaccines in the UK. There is one in the Netherlands and Belgium, and I think there's one in Germany. Well, no, I know there's one in Germany. But she was becoming extremely hysterical as to this shouldn't, what this shouldn't have happened. Why is it like this? We have to now start a factory. But the world has always been in a situation where it's looked at these things economically. Over 68% of the world's vaccines up until this pandemic have come out of India. 68% of all vaccines have been produced in India and have been shipped, air freighted throughout the world, even to the United States. They have taken their vaccines from India. Now, they've done it for economic reasons, obviously. And the fact that globally, India was in a good position with raw materials around it to make things happen efficiently and quickly. And it's worked, to be honest with you. It has worked. So as a country, we've also got to be realistic and look at what can we be efficiently producing. In other words, to come in at a cost that's realistic to the rest of the world, and what is obviously practical. So we can't be everything. But I think if this pandemic has taught us anything, it has taught us we can turn our minds to various things if we really have to and need to. And a typical example of that will be these new airflow systems that assist with oxygen in the mask going into people, plus the new, the fact that people have even developed ventilators and parts of ventilators, which hadn't been done in this country before either. So, potentially there's been a lot of good things that have happened out of this pandemic. The important thing is, though, and I keep on making this point, it is not going to, when we come through this process to try and get back to a norm, we must think about the future. It is a blank piece of paper we should start with, and it is a process of engineering a new way of life. And I use the word engineering with intent on this, because our engineers have got to become symbols of efficiency in how we develop our business, our country, going forward. Okay, that's all I've got to say for now. Talk to you again soon. Bye.